We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the invocation, pledge of allegiance.
If I can make one announcement, we do have our Easter sunrise service the 5th Sunday this month, 7 o'clock at the lake. All proceeds go to the Alms House. You all are invited. Gracious Father, we thank you for this day you bless us to see. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you for this meeting, the business at hand. We pray now that you will give us the mind of Christ in every decision that's made. Help us to be concerned about our fellow men. We thank you for the men and women that risk their lives daily, that we can have this freedom to have meetings and have opinions given. And we ask you to continue to bless our country, bless our commissioners, our mayor, all those associated with this government facility. And we ask your blessings upon us all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Okay. Committee applications will be added to new business item G. Do we have any other items?
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to add, discussion of Beaver Circle to be added in under new business item F.
Okay,
I mean, added in as a new item.
yeah, under new business, discussion of Beaver Circle, that's the, it's H, yep. Item H, discussion of Beaver Circle and the road, I guess that pole that's up there. Okay, that's all the additions and deletions. Motion to approve the agenda? Second? All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion passes. Next, official comments. Okay, who we're gonna start with? You're in, does it matter? No, it doesn't. All right, Commissioner Levy, you get it.
Thank you. Thank everyone for coming out this evening. Please bear with us as we go through this meeting. We have some very important things on our agenda tonight. So just bear with us and thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Commissioner Legg. Commissioner Craig?
Welcome to all of you tonight. It's good to see you here. And other than that, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Craver. Commissioner Marley?
I'm good this time.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Squall?
It's great to see some smiling faces in the audience. You know, don't see them too often. Maybe not you in the back. Your time won't be there. But it's good to see everyone here.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Scroller. And finally, Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to, I don't know if you all are smiling, but thank you all for, coming tonight. And also, I just wanted to, give the town a shout out for the Milling Around magazine and the project update. That's really nice. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray. There's a Milling Around magazine back there on that back table. If you don't have a copy of it, pick it up and carry it out with you. It is excellent, it is detailed, it is formatted, and it's probably the first one that we've had in the history of Pope Mills that I've seen. And I mean, it's very comprehensive. On Friday, we've got Senior Expo Day coming up. I'm sure our town manager will talk about that in the manager's report. But the other thing is, tomorrow is the primary election. in all the polls. So if you haven't voted in early voting, then tomorrow is your opportunity to vote in the primary election. That's all the official comments. Unless anybody else has got anything to add, we'll move on. Presentations. The first one is the proclamation for National Women's History Month. During Women's History Month, we celebrate the countless women who have fought tirelessly and courageously for equality, justice, and opportunity in our nation. We also reaffirm our commitment to advancing rights and opportunities for women and girls in the United States and around the world. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable philanthropy and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolishment movement, in emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And now, therefore, I, Jesse Bellflowers, Mayor of the town of Oak Mills, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim March 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2024, National Women's History Month in the town of Oak Mills, and urge all to use this time to celebrate our only planet and commit to building a sustainable green economy. Proclaimed this 4th day of March 2024. Next proclamation is our Town Charter Day coming up on Saturday, this Saturday. Whereas our town's founding fathers, in order to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their prosperity, established an act to incorporate the town of Oak Mills, and whereas it was ratified March 9th, 1891, and signed into law by the Secretary of State, W.L. Sanders, in Raleigh, March 31st, 1891, and whereas 2024 marks the 132nd anniversary since the town's incorporation, and the Board of Commissioners wishes to observe this anniversary. Now, therefore, I, Jesse Bellflowers, Mayor, Town of Oak Mills, do hereby proclaim March 9th, 2024 to be Town Charter Day. Proclaim this day, 4th day of March 2024. Next item, we have our committee budget presentations, and we've incorporated activity reports too, so when the chairs come forward to brief the board on their budget request, they can also brief the board on their monthly activity reports. Before we get started with that, this is the final leg of budget request before the board, before our retreat on Thursday morning of this week, where we will consider all of the budget requests now from our various committees and from the town departments and the priorities of the board. It culminates all on Thursday morning, starting at 8 in our public safety building, and that, of course, is open to the public. It'll be an all-day event, but nonetheless, it'll be the opportunity for us to really get into what the operating budget's going to look like for next year. So, with that said, our first committee up first is the Appearance Commission, and that will be represented by Marie Callender.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Commissioners, Mayor, and community. I'm Marie Callender, and I'm the co-chair of the Hope Mills Appearance Commission. And I stand before you tonight on behalf of the Hope Mills Appearance Commission to share an exciting proposal that promises not only to bring joy and pride to our town, but will also foster a sense of kinship and togetherness within the community. We are requesting a budget allocation of $5,000 for the following endeavors: cookies and hot cocoa, Christmas decorations, 4th of July decorations, informational handouts, horticultural supplies, and summer camp supplies. I'm going to expound on each one of these individually. Cookies and hot chocolate. The magic that the hot chocolate and cookies bring to the community during the tree lighting event is totally amazing, as well as the warmth it radiates throughout the body on a cold December night. During the event, picture a Western Wonderland filled with warm aroma of freshly baked cookies straight from Marcy's, and the comforting taste of hot cocoa. With a portion of this fund, we can organize community gatherings while spreading cheer during the holiday season. It's more than just sweets. It's about creating lasting memories and forging stronger bonds among our neighbors. In the past, we have provided cookies and hot cocoa, and the demand has grown larger and larger each year. Christmas decorations. Imagine the charm of our streets adorned with festive lights, decorations, and ornaments, creating a breathtaking spectacle for the community and visitors during the holiday season. This not only adds a touch of enchantment, but will also boost the spirit of unity and celebration in the community. Now we have the 4th of July. As the festive spirit extends into the July 4th celebration, our streets are lined with vibrant decorations, creating a spirit of friendship, closeness, and devotedness within the town as we come together to celebrate our shared history and values that make our community great. Informational handouts. Brochures and handouts play a crucial role in advertising, informing, and connecting with our community members. Whether it's informational pamphlets, small gifts, or other essentials, these materials can provide information that can create a sense of belonging and support within the community. This allocation will enable us to provide materials to members of the community, ensuring that everyone is informed about the appearance guidelines within our town. Green initiatives. Plants, flowers, shrubberies, and bushes not only beautify our surroundings, but also contribute to a healthier environment. By allocating funds for horticultural supplies, we can enhance the aesthetic appeal of our community while making a positive impact on our ecosystem. Summer camp. The summer camp activities are a fantastic opportunity to engage our youth. This includes educational programs, sports events, and recreational activities. By investing in our children's summer experiences, we not only provide them with enriching opportunities, but also contribute to the development of future leaders and responsible citizens. In conclusion, the proposed budget allocation of $5,000 for cookies, hot chocolate, Christmas decorations, 4th of July decorations, informational handouts, horticultural supplies, and summer camp supplies is not just an investment in tangible items, it's an investment in the heart and soul of our community. Together, we can create a space that is warm, vibrant, and full of life, fostering a sense of belonging and unity among us all. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Marie Callender, co-chair, members, Tina Yosette, Ellen Barnes, Sally Bailey, James Mattis, and Glenn Wallace. For our report for the month in March, on the 23rd, we are participating in the Easter event, and we also have requested monies to participate in the, there's an event coming up in April, I think it is, for the Dignity Closet. We requested money to participate, to donate to the Dignity Closet. I'm just waiting on a response from that. And, we are always busy and trying to make the town as beautiful as we possibly can. Thank you.
Hold on, Marie. Let me see if the board's got any questions for you.
Oh, okay.
Anybody got any questions? No?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I do have one question, and, Mr. Morrison is here. I would like the historic committee, the appearance committee, and Parks and Rec to get together to work on those Christmas supplies instead of 3 different committees purchasing decorations for the town. I think if we put our money together, we can get some better decorations. Because last year, I know there was a proposal and people in our Parks and Rec committee, we talked about how old the decorations look. And I think collaboratively, we all want it to look better, but I think it's gonna cost. I would like to see all of us work together instead of 3 different proposals.
Mayor Pro Tem McCray, we discussed that already. We are working on that. We have to meet with the historic preservation to get with them, but that is something we are working on because, last year I was, embarrassed with our town decoration. Excuse me, but to me, it looked like Charlie Brown town.
Just say it, just say it.
It looked like Charlie Brown town, and I went to, St. Paul's. I couldn't believe it. St. Paul's had 301 lined up with lights. I said, all the way down 301, and hopefully then I come back here, the streets are dark, there was raggedy banners hanging. I was just embarrassed, and I said, I don't want that to happen ever again. So that's why we got together with Mr. Lamarco, and we're working to make that improvement, and God willing, this year, we're gonna make it happen.
Thank you.
One other thing, Marie, before you take off. I like this idea of the decorations because of what you said about last year, and Mayor Pro Tem is dead on right. With the 3 committees working together, maybe we can just have one line item funded just for decorations.
Okay,
And I think you guys provide the input on what those decorations will look like, but we need to have one line item on the entire thing. And then that way it's not coming out of 3 different
right,
committee
okay.
budgets. It's coming out of one. I think we can do that. We'll talk about that
And
again.
that's something that, quite honestly, the Appearance Commission has been trying to do for the past several years since I've been on the committee in 2016, and then the pandemic hit and things kind of got shut down. And then kind of like now we're just starting all over again, and then we had a different mayor, so so hopefully we're gonna get it together.
The 3 committees will work together
Yeah,
on deploying
it should,
the decorations.
yes,
Yeah, but if we fund one separate line item, then it can be shared by the 3 committees.
that's true. And that's part of the reason why I guess we couldn't really make it better, because it was just the Appearance Commission, and with our budget, it was just enough to just do what we could do as far as the decorations that we did put up. So we just didn't have enough to line the main street and do all of that, but we have been requesting and working and proposing, so I guess this would be the year that would make it happen.
We'll talk about it Thursday at the retreat. Last question I have, do you have any vacancies on the appearance committee?
Yes, we have to.
2 vacancies, okay. Go ahead.
I have no problem with your budget. I just have a question about the, summer camp activities. Isn't that more of a, like, Parks and Rec kind of focus?
So Parks and Rec sponsors it, but we, provide an activity for the kids. They asked, as a matter of fact, they asked all of the different, committees and commissions to provide an activity for the kids to help them, and that's what we have been doing. We did it last year, and we already have a proposal to do it again this year.
That's all.
Anybody else? We're good? All right, thank you, Marie.
Okay, I'm dismissed now?
Yes, you are. Yes. Our next committee is our new Cultural Arts Committee, and that will be briefed by Mayor Pro Tem Dr. McCray.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't know if I can make Miss Marie talk about the cookies and cocoa. She made it sound exciting, but what I'm asking or requesting is brief, and they are just estimates. With this being a new committee getting started, and I think tonight we'll have enough with the nomination, committee to start meeting. I didn't ask for a lot because what I want us to do is I want it to be long lasting and impactful. I don't want to do a lot of events. I think that Parks and Rec does a lot of events already. I did include Juneteenth celebration in there, enriching the cultural offerings and community engagement. There's a $5,000 budget for that. This year we are partnering with Dirtbag L's to do that, and we're kind of piecemealing a budget. And being that 3 years ago we made it a holiday that we've included for the town to be closed, I would like to invest in that. I would like sculptures in the town. I want to work with the Fayetteville Cumberland Arts Council to do that. I particularly want to focus on our gateways. And I don't mind working with the Appearance Commission to do that as well. So there's a $10,000 allocation for that. And again, these are just estimates. And finally, a mural project. So the only place that I can think of now in Hope Mills that we possibly can use, but it would be very expensive, is to paint the wall over, and Don may be hearing this for the first time, by the lake. And it would be very expensive because of the size and the type of protection and coating that you would have to put to so that it won't mess up. But I don't know if there's other buildings or places that's visible in the town that someone would like to give us permission to put a mural there. Again, something vibrant, something colorful, something that would draw people to the community to maybe take pictures there. But I did a $5,000 allocation for that. And again, that's just an estimate to include artist fees, supplies, and that's pretty much it. So again, not a lot of things, but some things that I feel like will be impactful for us to get started and long lasting throughout the community. Any questions, anybody?
Any questions?
And how much did you say that request to be?
I am requesting $20,000.
But the question I have is, we can also apply for grants from
Absolutely.
the Arts Council to offset a lot of this request.
Yes.
So, and that's in the process too. Any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay.
So I can ask you a question. When we got the sculptures previously, I don't know if you were on the board or no, I wasn't. How much do you know how much the sculptures cost when we got them from?
I can speak to that. The actual grant from the Arts Council was for $10,000, but it was for the construction of slabs to put the sculptures on. We actually partnered with Adam Walls with the University of Pembroke with his sculpture class, so we didn't have to pay for the sculptures. The sculptures were actually loaned to us, which is why they were actually rotated out. So that's why these grants with Arts Council are so creative. We actually didn't have to purchase the sculptures, but we were awarded the grant to be able to put the slabs in place for them to be anchored.
And those slabs are still there, just waiting on sculptures to anchor.
That is correct.
So that was a solid investment at that time for the town. Okay, that's it. No other questions? Our next committee will be the Historic Preservation Committee by Sharon Reeves.
Thank you, Board of Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. Got a visual arts day.
I just want to make sure you had a copy. There were a couple questions I had about the budget. This is a working budget. We keep it on Google Docs year after year after year. The column that you see to your left, that is
From the beginning.
I didn't get one.
Oh, I apologize. And just the arrow.
Column to your left would be like an ongoing project type column, a wish list, if you will. And from year to year, we revise and change that and edit that. So that really is nothing. This is like a 5-year plan that we have for the HPC. It had occurred to me, and Ms. Davis, was the vice chairman at the time, what if something happened to us and we weren't on the HPC? We should have some sort of record or continuation of what we're working on and what projects we hope to see. So that's what that column is. So if I drop dead tomorrow, they know, you know, what we were doing. Middle column is our reoccurring expenses, and some of those are drawn over from our wish list column. But these are just things we do every year. And then, of course, the third would be our request for this year's budget. And I have made a slideshow, so I can kind of talk you through it. Okay, slide, please. Of course, our next event is going to be next Saturday, as the mayor alluded to, March the 9th, 2024 at 1 p.m., the Thomas Campbell Oakman Memorial Chapel. It's a celebration of our Charter Day, discovering our roots. I will be giving a brief, I hate to say speech, that makes me sound really important, but a little talk about the history of charters, how you get a charter, and what's our charter, how did we come about our charter, our history of our township, and how it was established. Slide, please. One of the big projects that we want to start this year is to do a historic cemetery gravestone cleaning and restoration. And that's McCray Cemetery, and that is actually a historic graveyard, in that it is the oldest graveyard in the town, but it's also like the fourth or fifth oldest graveyard cemetery in the state. It has graves that go back to 1700, and it's just been vandalized terribly. Headstones knocked down, there's missing headstones, unmarked graves, things like that. So that's kind of it's going to be an ongoing thing with that, but it's something we want to start. I did speak with Tara Jordan with Zeta Phi Beta. I want to make sure I get that right. Sorority, and they're very interested in helping us with these projects with restoring even the town cemeteries, doing some cleaning, and we're hoping to get started with that in April. Slide, please. Of course, one of our reoccurring expenses was, we did not have it this year, but we hope to this year, in conjunction with the Police Foundation, would be the Old Mill Days reunion, and that's some pictures from previous reunions. The materials we use, the cake and the decorations and the door prizes and things. Slide, please. This year, of course, and for a few years, it's good, which good though. We have participated in Trunk or Treat, and we enjoy doing that a great deal and giving out candy. So a small part of our budget is to have enough additional candy and things like that. A little few decorations that we get to do our car for Trunk or Treat, and to provide Good Witch Glenda with her magic hat. Some of our restoration projects on the left, you see the piano that was restored last year. I think he finished it. And maintaining that, because pianos, if you don't play or don't know about pianos, they do have to be tuned periodically. They're very, very sensitive to humidity, climate changes. We went ahead and we have had a little bit of remaining money in this year's budget. We got what's called a humidifier system for piano, and Maxie was real helpful with meeting the guy and getting him in the chapel, and that is on the piano now. And I think, LaMarco, we talked about the outlet on the floor so we could have electrical power to power it, but that should hopefully reduce maintenance, changing felts and things on the piano. And then one other thing that was brought to my attention, some people, and Mayor included, had discussed, should we go to, traditionally Episcopal churches have red doors. And that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, it would let them know anyone that needed aid or assistance in the community, that it would mark them as the red door, you can come to us for aid. It also represents the blood of Jesus Christ. And our Episcopal church has natural wood doors on it. And some people have suggested, this was taken back in the 50s, this picture. So I'm assuming the church originally had red doors. And we really need to look at that exterior veneer of those doors. It's cracking, it's feeling weathering over time. Maybe having that replaced and having the doors painted red, have a more traditional, feel for that chapel. And that, here again, would be something that we'd have to get bids for, whatever, to have that done. Slide, please. This year, we did a lot. Is there another slide with the, yes. Okay. We did the whole fence, the whole run of the fence, all 300 feet or whatever it was of that fence with the garland and the bows. And thank you, Ruth Farley, who made all of our bows for us. Every single bow in that fence. And yes, we did spend a lot more. You may think it's exorbitant, but that garland is a really high quality garland. It's by Bickerman's Garland. We thoroughly cleaned it and dried it and stored it very well. And I think it will serve the community for several years to come as long as we take care of it and maintain it. We may have to, you know, change the bows in 3 or 4 years if they get worn or whatever, but I think they'll stay. And one thing that we do every year is put the live reeds on the outside of the chapel doors. Check the next slide. Oh, shoot, it's not on there. Because the inside of the chapel was beautifully decorated. If you had the opportunity to come, there it is. And you'll see we did the swags down the pews, the Christmas tree, we put the lanterns with the greenery in the windows. And a lot of people comment to me they loved going down Main Street and seeing we had them on timers and they would see them every night. So that was a big expense this year and a great time consumption, but I think it came nice. And you're talking about, Ms. Calendar was talking about making the town more festive. And I really think that added to that. A lot of people commented they liked the garland and the bows on the fence. Slide, please. Oh, thank you for your support. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Sir, you said the piano completely finished now?
Yes, sir. It was finished. It was restored. Felts were replaced on the hammers and whatnot that needed done. We had to replace some strings in like C4 and C5 area. It was completely restored, the exterior and the interior.
And what you gonna take to keep it?
I would estimate, like I said, we've just had the new humidifying system installed because I know we want to be cost effective. You don't want to keep the chapel at 72 degrees every day during the summer. And so to be able to maintain the chapel at a reasonable temperature in the summer, but yet cut down on the humidity, we have the humidifier system installed. And I want to say, he hasn't sent the invoice yet. I want to say it was about $350 to $400, which is not bad for that whole system. And it does plug in and removes all the excess moisture to protect the keys, hammers, mallets, felts, all that stuff. But yes, it is totally restored. And then the rest of the maintenance would just be tuning. And if we're going to have events there, that piano, and they're going to use pianists, weddings, whatever, you'd have to have it tuned. And like my piano, I have it tuned about 2 or 3 times a year. Depends on how often it's played and things like that. But normally 2, 3, possibly 4 times a year, depending on the number of events you would have there.
What's the cost for that?
Each tuning, depending on what he needs to do, runs between $150 to $200 per tuning.
So is this request for $5,000 gonna be an appropriate price for what you gotta have?
Yes, sir. I believe we put an allowance of $600 in there in our budget for the recurring cost of tuning. Like I said, we went ahead and pulled. Maxie Dove suggested to me, hey, you've got the money in your budget. Let's go ahead and do that now. And I said, it's a great idea. So we've already paid for the humidifier and it's installed.
Thank you, doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
It's more than just sharing things.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's exciting. I have, Artist Village is going to sing. They're going to sing period appropriate music. We're going to have cakes, and the cakes are really cool. Marcy's doing the cake, and they actually have the town charter seal on the cake and punch. And then I've made up little, I don't know, what do you call it when you give out little gifts and things. I went to the archives and I got the original town charter. Parks and Rec graciously ran it off on parchment paper for me. I have them in little scrolls tied with ribbon and the official Charter Day pin. So it's just, you know, the chance, I hope everybody can come out. It's only gonna last about an hour, the presentation and meet and greet, but it's just a nice way for us to acknowledge the birthday of our town, I think.
Go ahead.
What time does that start again for everyone?
1 p.m. Saturday.
Yep. I'm speaking as well. Commissioner
I,
Morales?
I have a question. So, on your 3 columns here,
Yes, sir?
you got an estimated cost for recurring expense and the 2024 expense. At the bottom, and at the bottom of each one of them, are you requesting,
I'm requesting what's highlighted.
okay, so what about all the other stuff that in that highlighted column that has a cost estimate on the other side that totals 19,650? Are you requesting like 19,650? What about all these other, are these other things gonna go by the wayside? Because if they're not budgeted for,
No, they'll never go by the wayside. But that's like our working budget, our 5-year budget. So we may not get to this project this year, but then we'll move that over to our, say, 2025, 26 budget.
so your recurring expenses, you got $8,300. Is that what you need to be requesting instead of the 5,000? Because if it's a recurring expense, then we're gonna have to have that for this year as well.
Well, yes, but,
8,300.
yes, sir, I understand what you're saying. Well, yeah, that'd be wonderful, but when we sat down and looked at the budget and we knew that, you know, we only had $5,000, we kind of said, okay, we're gonna have to stretch a penny till it screams, and that was our budget that we made for 2024. We took away from some of the things, and we may not be able to spend as much on some of the things.
So do we need to, I mean, now's the time to ask, if you want us to look at the 8,300 column instead of the 5,000, now's the time to.
Well, I'm no fool, and if you want to look at 8,300,
I would certainly, I mean, if it's a recurring expense, I mean, then we need to look at the recurring expenses. That's another, $3,300 to the budget.
we would love that, and we would love to request that, but we can make do with our 500, and
But you need the 8,300, right?
yes, sir, you want me to say yes? Okay, yes, I will. That would be wonderful, yes. It would cover everything, and no squeaking and squeaks, you know, but yes.
I think they need the 8,300.
I think they do too, but I gotta.
Mr. Arnold's like, my wife doesn't even do that with me, money, giving you money.
But I have a proposition for you about the 8,300.
Yes, sir.
Notice that some of this 8,300 is because of graphic design for events and a banner.
Mm-hmm.
Also notice this 8,300 does not include the red door.
No, sir.
So if you had a choice between the two, would you give up the graphic design banner and get the doors painted red?
We kind of talked about it. Well, that would be something, well, first of all, yes, I would.
Okay.
But I can't spit, when I have to have my committee discuss it, we'd have to put it to a vote. Yes, yes, we'd love to have the red doors.
Okay, all right.
Maybe that's something we could do for all the communities, buy their income for that. So they wouldn't have to spend a lot of their money.
Yeah, our banner is really, really old, well, not really old, but I mean, it's about 10 years old. 10 or 15 years old.
Does all the committees have banners?
And it said, and it still says Hope Mills Advisory, Hope Mills Historic Advisory Committee.
The problem was we brought ours out of our budget, but I would swap that trick-or-treat candy for the design. The trick-or-treat candy for the design of the, am I not right, is it not $100 difference? So $500 and $400?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would swap my trick-or-treat candy and get me, I would invest in my
Banner.
instead of the candy,
Okay.
and get candy donated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Okay.
How many vacancies?
I believe we're gonna approve one more person tonight, is that true? 2 more people. 2, so that means 1 vacancy.
Okay, so after tonight, you'll have 1 vacancy.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sharon.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
And
board.
thank your assistant too.
Thank you, Karen.
Next up, a big working committee. Not saying none of our committees are working, but they all work in concert together. And it seems like the Parks and Rec Committee always has something going on along with the HBC and the appearance. Cultural Arts is about to get going. And then the Veterans Affairs is coming up after you, Mark, so it's your show.
I'll try to make this reasonably short. I'm Mark Hess, I'm the chairman of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee here at Hillbills. And unfortunately, Maria's sort of stole part of my thunder. We had, the first item we were going to talk to you about a budget allocation of $5,000 is about half of that going to Christmas decorations. And you were talking about a line item, which I would agree with. But we're still going to ask for the $5,000 because we always have lots of things going on. We can always use more money for other things. But with Christmas decorations, with the appearance committee and special innovations, we've always worked together on that. And that will continue on, no matter what that decision is on the dollar figures. But we looked at little things that don't include the Christmas lights. Number one is with the parks there opening up, we have the all-inclusive playground. We've had a lot of vandalism over the last couple of years with it. And we're looking at getting some cameras for that, especially when we move into phase 2. We're going to expand that area bigger. There's going to be a lot more traffic coming through there, I think, with the ball fields and more parking spaces and such things. And we know the police do not have the time to park somebody there from 9 o'clock at night till 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were thinking more cameras for that area, as well as for the golf course area as we start to build and expand that area. And those will be plugged into the police department so they can be monitored by them. They could, should they see something not appropriate, they can dispatch an officer to check out the situation. I know in the budgets for both of those, there are cameras involved. We would like to have more. I know my house, where I have my cameras, I'd like to have a whole lot more. They just cost a lot more money than I can have in my budget. But the more cameras, the more visibility we have of that area, I think the better off going to be to decrease our vandalism. And the next one is, it's been brought up to us, is basically trash and stuff in the park. Signage, we'd like to get some signs to put up, something like, please keep your park clean, pick up after yourself, such things as that. I'm not real creative on that kind of gesture, but we know there are people that are. Also, additional trash receptacles. As most of you know, I work out here on Rockfish in the mornings and afternoons. And probably 3 times a week, I see one of our Parks and Rec employees out there with his gator picking up trash at least 3 times a week. I don't know if it blows out of cars, just thrown out of cars on the road, if it's done by people along the walkway. But I think additional trash receptacles in our park, as well as along the golf course, the walking course, would help. And if there's any money left over, we've talked about more long range, is on the walking course at the golf course, the old golf course. We're going to start building some more things. We talked about the ball fields, talked about a senior center. We've talked about one thing we need is, and I've had a lot of complaints about that. I get a lot of complaints all the time from our work, but more lighting along that trail, especially in the early morning hours. There's a lot of people walking, and I think with the senior center plan to go in there, and somewhere in the near future, there's going to be a lot more people walking there. We've better parking, and if it's not lit, people aren't going to use that. And so some additional lighting as well. And that's really what our budget proposal would be, is for those items. Cameras for the parks, as well as for trash cans, and for both parks, both areas, as well as possibility of additional lighting somewhere down the road. Lights cost around $5,000 a piece, especially for solar power. So it's sort of a long-range project, or maybe something they can throw in the budget later. But if there's money left over, we'll save it and stash it for something like that. As for activities, we have always had activities. Maxie's not here, but we did sit up here and graciously, happily tell you how we're doing with athletics. As you know, athletics here is always real big. We're doing quite well, and we're currently registering for many of this spring, this type of sports, baseball, soccer. Okay. Also, we also have a lot of things going on in the rec center, deals with the adults. I'm not going to go into all that, but that's always busy as well. If you have any questions, just glad we did this. So I'm sure you all have that. If you've noticed, Heritage Park is currently under construction. It's closed off to all of us visitors. But if you can go by and see it, you can actually now see the old flume. So they've done a good job of that, and that's going to progress every day. That's expected to be open sometime later this fall. Okay, as well as we're talking about phase 2 for the all-inclusive playground. I know that the wheelchair swing has been ordered, $17,000. I pushed for that a while back. I know Commissioner Scrolla has as well. Not sure when that's going to arrive. That comes from Australia. So we may not see that for a while, but that has been ordered. And I'm glad to see that. That's the end of my presentation. For any questions?
Any comments or questions from the board?
You can go first.
Okay.
Okay.
Since I'm the liaison for the Parks and Recreation, don't y'all want more money than?
Well, we could always use more money. I mean, I would like to see like $50,000 for lighting, but I think that's.
This is the first time you've ever submitted for money, isn't
Right.
it?
It's the first time we've ever submitted.
First time they've ever submitted. Now, let me ask you one other question. Are y'all responsible for the Ed Herring Park over there on Lexington Drive?
I believe we are.
Well, it is in really bad shape. I've had a lot of complaints from
We've
people.
talked about that. They're gonna dismantle some of the stuff from that, and we're gonna look at replacing a lot of that. That's on Lamarco, it's not on me, but, we're probably going to take out the swings, the swings, all the stuff that's there, and, replace them in the near future with more ADA compliant, equipment to play on.
Is there any way you can put up a fence at the back where that lake is? Right now, all it looks like is trees have been cut down and just laid on top of each other.
I'm sure we could.
You know, so the kids playing wouldn't, run and
Lake.
fall in.
I'm sure we can do that. And then, I don't know what fencing costs, but that's probably $3,000 to $5,000 expense minimum. If you wanna buy quality, you wanna buy it so it's not gonna fall down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, you may.
Okay, I know we had talked previously about getting a power source potentially at the golf course.
Right.
What about, has anyone brought to your attention about benches? I know I've been hearing about.
That's been brought up. And as a committee, we've talked about it. But I'll just say that a lot of the thoughts on the golf course are up in the air because we've talked about the baseball fields, we've talked about the senior center. I think once we get a final drawing plan drawn up and approved, we can look at putting benches in, maybe widening the track, whatever we have to do for that. I think that's sort of jumping the gun a little bit on putting benches. They will go in. And there'll probably be a proposal maybe for next year to put some additional benches in. But at the moment, we haven't got a true plan laid out for the golf course area.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Mark, how many vacancies do you have?
We have 2 vacancies.
Okay, we're not proving anybody tonight. One thing I would like to ask Mark, for you and Sharon and Marie, if between now and Thursday, collectively, the 3 of you could come up with some type of recommendation for how much town decorations would look like, that would really help us at the retreat on Thursday.
And we've talked about that before, we have a few now, we can rotate those off of the main street, maybe put it down Trade Street, because I don't think the merchants of Trade Street would like to have something for Christmas. But, yeah, we can get together, and talk about that and come up with a basic idea.
Okay. I appreciate that, Mark.
Mr. Mayor, well, last year, Lamarco at the budget, was it last year or the year before last year at the budget retreat, where there was proposals? And I think we couldn't get the Cadillac version that we wanted. Can we not bring some of those items back?
Absolutely, I still have.
And show it to the committee.
There we go, there we go.
I'm easy to find, I'm just a guy that looks like banana out here.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, last but not least is our Veterans Affairs Committee, Ron Starr. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Does everybody have a copy of the proposed budget? Without going into a long talk, is there anything in question that you have that of the budget I presented? The only thing I can see that may be of question is the fact that the business cards, I'm looking at business cards for the members with no name on them. It'd be the logo, and they can put their own name on it instead of being individualized. There's probably more things I'd like to have, but this is, most of this stuff had already been voted on prior to me assuming the chair position of for the budget of the or wish list. We already have one tent with a logo on it. It's rather nice. It's white with red lettering. They didn't order the sides. That's why we need 8 sides to go with the additional tent we wanted to give. Go ahead.
Actually, my question's for the town manager. He has on the budget for the Purple Heart event. Wasn't the town paying for that previously?
I have to reach out, I have to research that, I'm not aware of that.
I thought the year before last that we did.
That's why I wasn't sure if we were paying out our budget or.
I don't recall us, paying on it, but I'm more than happy to.
I believe it did.
Way we can.
This past year, but the year prior, I believe the Affairs Committee did pay for themselves.
Just something.
Okay.
Bring to attention.
Now, I did have a remaining total left over of $152.60. That would be for incidentals. Also looking at possibly getting hats, especially for our female members, to help keep the sun off their beautiful skin. And I've also wrote in there additional increase or possible increase of items that may have risen since last year. So, you can cover us on that.
Ron, do we have a POW flag at the lake?
I do not know if we have one at the lake. I don't believe we do. Nope.
The reason why I say that is because for years and years, we've always had POW flag at the lake. But for the last few months or so, it's not there. So do we have one to put up or do we need to order one? I guess that would be the question.
You're asking me or the town?
I'll ask you.
Well,
Then I'll ask the town.
well, we don't have one in our committee. In fact, we don't even have an American flag in there. We have to bring in a little flag. That's the reason I asked for the POW flag and the American flag, so we can have it at our meetings when we do have it.
I know we maintain all the flags in the town, but that's one that is missing.
Right.
Okay. So the town has to order, okay. There's one missing at the cemetery, so it's 2. That's just POW flag. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I'd have to look to see if the ones at the Veterans Memorial, because, I don't know how old they are from sitting out there. I'll have to look over and see the rest of the state of the flag, see how they're doing.
Okay.
What you may want to, what are, fold flag?
Folded flag pins, they either be used for the lapel or hat.
They're a flag of a folded flag like you normally present at the death of a service member when it's presented to the surviving member. That's what they are, little folded flags, that's all they are. If you have no more questions, I've got something else. Why I have your attention.
Let me ask you how many vacancies, and then you can proceed.
I believe we have three. We're moving into tonight.
Three
I'm
tonight.
getting three, we still have three.
Still have three after tonight.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead, what you got next?
Anybody who's been in Hope Mills any length of time are probably familiar with Percy Porter. But what they're not familiar with is action that was taken during World War II. I'd like to read part of that citation to you before that. It was December 17th and 18th near Luxembourg of December 1944. While this battalion was moving through the woods to relieve another infantry unit, they came under attack. His mortar platoon and his heavy machine gun platoon got separated from the rest of the units while coming under heavy fire. He suffered a wound almost immediately in the head. He set up a perimeter, fought the enemy off day and a night while trying to reestablish contact with his main element. Once he reestablished contact with him, he moved the two platoons during the darkness through the enemy lines and with no loss of casualties during that period. That was an E6. For that, he was awarded the Silver Star. Today, that would have probably been a Medal of Honor citation gone in. He also was awarded the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart for those actions. I stopped up at the funeral home, and they have a display case up there, him and his brother, with that in there, and they would like to donate it, but we need a place to put it. I've come up with the idea, maybe Parks and Rec would maybe think about this also. The big room we have over there, why don't we name that the Veterans Hall of Heroes? And we can start putting pictures up. We limit the size of them, a small summary of what the individual did up on the wall, so people that go there for meetings or children go there can see what our town is like, what we have here, which gives them an idea of what we have to offer. Our motto is proud past, bright future. So let's be proud of the past. I'd also even think we need to consider renaming the golf course to Percy Porter Memorial Park. Now I'm giving you something to think about.
Historically, and I met him briefly before the funeral. I was at the funeral along with VFW and his brother, Kenneth. The background with Percy Porter was that he was such a servant to this entire community over the years, and how he touched, and so many testimonials that I heard and continue to hear of his service, not only to country, service to community. And he was a pillar of this community, because folks that may not have had the resources to take care of a loved one, he always extended his service to take care of many, many people through the years at that funeral. And you know what I'm talking about, Sharon. You know exactly. And a lot of folks, when you turn around, Ron, and look at the top of that wall, there's a lot of those mayors up there know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, if you take this under consideration, I would like you to really think hard about it, because it's my understanding that Kenneth is in pretty bad health.
I did not know that.
Yes, I found that out a week ago, so.
And the display is still there, or does Kenneth
No,
have it?
it's still up there.
Still there, okay.
And the person in charge is going to speak with him. She feels that it's not the proper place for it to be, and that if we had a place to display it, she would like to donate it to the council, we can display it. And that would be in the uniform. It's actually a Class A green uniform.
I know what it is.
But
Exactly.
if I could find an old World War II uniform, that'd be better, if I could find one.
When does she want it moved?
Well, as soon as I could tell her, we could get it moved. And that includes the copy of the original citation.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Ron. If she's in a hurry to get it moved, why don't we temporarily move it over to the VFW until we find exactly the right spot for it? Or if she's in a hurry to move it.
Well, she's not in a hurry to move it, but, like I said, whenever I tell her we take it, she'll move it. Or she'll let us know and I'll go move it.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, there's no question that we'll take it.
Okay.
It's a question of where we're gonna put it.
Anybody have any questions on the budget though? If you offered more money, I'll take 20-30,000.
All right, Ron, nothing else? We thank you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Ron?
Next up on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody signed up tonight for public comments? Okay, here's a familiar name, former commissioner, Billy Mitchell, 4056 William, Bill Luther Drive, Hope Mills. He wants to talk about budget and Heritage Park. It's all yours, really. Welcome back.
Thank you. Really, Mitchell, 4056 William Building. Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners, Town Manager, staff, and citizens. I was gonna start somewhere else, but since we were just talking about the budget, I'll start there. Budget and cost. Everyone is talking about the budget. Guess what? It is now time for this town to make the tough choice, tax increase. You cannot continue to provide the quality of service that this town has been providing with our law enforcement, with our public works, with everyone, without a tax increase. Last year, I did not agree to a tax increase because we did not tell the people why we needed it. We need it. Equipment needs to be repaired. Equipment needs to be replaced. The quality of services have to be expanded. If we do not do a tax increase, there's going to be a reduction of service, a reduction in quality of life. It's going to happen. You cannot continue to run a town without some type of increase in your taxes. Everything is going up. Everything. Just case in point, everybody's complaining about the electric bill. It went up big time. Guess who else's bill went up? The town hall bills went up. How do we pay for those increases? We have to do something to get money. We're not an income producing community like we should be. What do the Parks and Recs do to really generate a substantial income to provide and add to that staff? We have to do something. And if we don't do anything, we right now, our head is right here. We're gonna be over our head underneath the water. We cannot continue to ask the state, the county, and other organizations to support this town with grant funding if we're not doing our own. We got to take care of our own. Next, we need a multi-purpose, multi-use building in this community. For seniors, veterans, people with special needs, all citizens. Where do the people go when there's a white flag? They go nowhere. There's no place to go. I tried to accommodate some of them, but hey, I'm only just one week. They need places to go. Our homeless population have increased. Our drug problems have increased. Our crime problem have increased. We need a multi-purpose, multi-use building to reach those people, to talk to those people. Another problem we have, when there's a natural disaster, we have to take the Park and Rec building. We have to use the schools. We shouldn't have to do that. If we address it right, there's no reason why the county and the state should not support a multi-purpose, a multi-use building. Can I have a couple of minutes?
Yes, sir. You've earned it.
Heritage Park. Heritage Park is a project that's been on the books for a long time. To drive by, and I seen them out there moving, preparing, that was a smile on my face. I remember when Chairman Pat Hall talked about it years ago, and now it is here. It is here. And I just want to say thanks to to those individuals that were responsible, had the vision for Heritage Park. And that is Pat Hall, Lisa Warren, Jimmy Reed, Margaret Ann Swanson, Betty Hill, Lawrence Smith, Jerry Legg, who was the liaison, Melissa Adams, she was the staff liaison, Douglas Mott, Eddie Dees, and and Edith Brett. Had a vision for Heritage Park. Just want to say thanks to everyone involved in enjoying this project and see it come to life. This has been in the making for years. It is long overdue. The individuals that was involved in the planning process, you deserve kudos. Thank you. The party grant, the 50-50 match, $500,000 procured by Mr. Marshall, well done, because without that, this would not be happening today. I'm telling you now. Something is better than nothing. I'm telling you, the vision is there. We have to support the vision. I don't care about whether you like the design, don't like the design. We have a design that's in place, that's being built. Get behind, support it, and let those visions be true. Because Pat Hall said something, I'm going to read that she had in the paper. It was an article written by Roger Mullins on September 17, 2014. Pat Hall, chairwoman of the Historical Advisory Committee, Heritage Park, has been in the work for years. Hall said the idea of the park dates to at least 1995. Just think about that for a minute. Let that soak in. Hall said, while Heritage Park is a long-held dream for everyone who cares about the town history, she recognized that the dream can take a long time to become a reality. Guess what, people? The reality is now. Thank you. God bless.
Thanks very much, former Commissioner Gruennemecher. Your comments are always welcome and greatly appreciated. Okay, that's no one else has signed up for public comments. We'll move right into the consent agenda. 2 items on the consent agenda. Consideration of approval of the Board of Commissioners February 5th, 2024 regular meeting minutes, February 5th, special budget workshop meeting minutes, and February 19th, special legislative delegation meeting minutes under tab 4. Item B is acceptance of monthly financial report, January 2024, that's under tab 5. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. All in favor? No one opposed, motion carries. And the consent agenda, we move next to the public hearing. Item 6, the annexation case A202401, the contiguous annexation of 7.95 acres in Cumberland County with 3 different parcels containing 7.95 acres, more or less, duly recorded in the deed book, 1044-9, page 0854, Cumberland County Register, North Carolina, under tab 6. And I believe this item belongs to Emily.
Good evening. I'll make sure I have control over here. Tonight's annexation case is involving the town of Hope Mills voted to accept the petition for annexation on January 22nd, 2024, submitted by Mr. Richard Collier, who is the agent on behalf of Carla Coleman Johnson and Barbara McBride Johnson heirs, and it's tied to 4 different parcels. The subject property is adjacent to other residential properties that are located within the county and surrounded north and south by properties that are actually within the town limits already, and zoning with both commercial and residential. Access to the property will be mainly from Camden Road. The Board of Commissioners approved for the resolution R2024-03 on February 5th, 2024, fixing the public hearing to today's meeting, and staff is requesting the authorization to proceed with initially zoning the property under the C2P Planned Service Retail as well as R5 residential districts. This is a little summary showing the location of the property. And as you can see, it is surrounded by both commercial and residential.
and this will give you an idea of what they're requesting. This area right here is actually the area that they're requesting for annexation. And this area right here is already annexed into the town. And staff is requesting authorization to proceed to rezone. If there are any questions,
Okay,
just for clarification purposes, sorry. So they're keeping the exact same zoning, like, if you go back to the other slide. That, right there. So they're keeping it essentially the exact same zoning based off the colors there. So like the southern part is R5 and the top part is C2P. So right now, they're actually going to be requesting to rezone the existing to, the front part, the top part to be C2B, and the south, to be R5. So that this is the desired end result. Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Commissioner Squalla. Any other board members?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Public hearing's open. Is there anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? No. Anyone support the annexation? Okay.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Okay. The public hearing's open, it's been closed. Do we have a motion regarding annexation ordinance A 2023-04, authorized to proceed with initially zoning the property under the R5 residential and C2P planned service and retail districts? Is that it? Emily?
I'd like to make a motion to proceed with the initial zoning for the property under R5 residential and C2P planned service and retail district for the
I think you got it. Did we leave out anything, Emily?
No.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? No one opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
We have a question, Emily.
No, I said,
Commissioner.
you know what's going to be about it? We only know right now that they desire to do residential, and as I understand it, they have, well, they have, so, as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the plan is for the residential to continue the Bretton Woods Road through and end up onto Canyon Road, providing a new access to the neighborhoods. And the front part obviously will be commercial, and the back part will be residential, so it'll lead into Valley End.
If I can chime in a little bit, the reason why this is impactful is because if you recall, several months ago, we were getting complaints from Valley End residents about Applegate. This is the development that would actually create a new access going off of Camden into Valley End development. They are talking, it's a cabinets and case development, and they're talking about for sale fee simple townhouses and an upscale apartment complex, but they will be connected to Brentwood and Oglesby Roads inside the existing Valley End Center.
And Bretton Woods would be built to town standards.
Okay.
Hold on a minute.
Commissioner Lake?
You say they're gonna have another exit?
They're creating the a connection to Brettonwood. So if you notice, the road that you live on, it dead ends in that field off of Camden. So this would connect to that and create a new entrance off of Camden Road.
I live in that last house on Brentwood, and the traffic in that neighborhood is bad. Both during school and when school's not in, because of people having to go to their jobs. So as long as they put another exit in there, I don't have a problem with it.
That is the plan. And like I said, it will be built to town standards.
You'll be watching that.
Yes.
The road will be built to town standards, yes.
One of them's not the town standard now. The part up front's not the town standard. We went over that at that time. And, they got by with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Anything else? Okay, item number 7, old business, there is none. We'll move right into new business. Item A, to receive a report on the current status of the Hope Mills Rockfish Summer College League Baseball franchise. I think there's a number of questions that's going to be asked, but I think this belongs to town manager.
That is correct. We do have Parks and Rec Director Lamarco, but I'll give the update. The Hope Mills Rockfish baseball team is currently implementing improvements to the concession stand and the baseball field in accordance with their approved facility use and lease agreement approved by the Board of Commissioners. Renovations underway are as follows. The old fencing, backstop, and score tower have been removed and salvaged. New fence materials, as well as the 6-foot outfield temporary fence, are scheduled to arrive by early March. Installation should begin next week once zoning and permitting are approved. Painting of the dugouts, retaining wall, and shelter 1 has already begun. The sod and soils for the infield are scheduled to be delivered on April 3rd. Weather permitting, the sod will be installed on April 4th, with field work to be completed on April 5th. In your package, you do have photographs that show how the field will be installed, to include sod versus dirt areas, as well as where the 80-foot bases and 90-foot bases will be placed in relation to the sod. We will be able to, however, easily move the bases between the 80-foot distance, which is the 14U distance for baseball, and the 90-foot distance, which is the actual legal distance for the actual Hope Mills Rockfish League. I also would like to commend our Parks and Rec department because they currently have a projects update link on our town website that will become a permanent source of updates on our projects. So if you are interested in Heritage Park updates, it's on our website. They'll actually keep adding these updates as well. So you'll keep updates in the manager's report. You keep these updates on the website, and it'll also be shown on our social media pages as well. I do understand there are also some other questions about beer and wine sales. The town of Hope Mills typically issues a special event permit where the permit holder is the entity requesting the permit. The permit also has an individual tied to the requesting entity listed as the responsible individual. In this instance, the baseball team needs to obtain a license from the North Carolina Law Enforcement ALE and must have the approval of the town of Hope Mills to be able to obtain the ability to sell on our property. The town has not yet approved the concessions agreement for the sale of beer, but the following outlines the terms that we are currently talking about listed in the agreement. These are terms that the baseball team has mutually agreed to, that we should be moving forward with execution. The only alcohol that will be sold would be beer. Beer will only be sold during the Old North State League games during the months of May, June, and July, which is the duration of the baseball season. A wristband will be required to purchase beer. Wristbands will only be issued when entering the designated fence perimeter area and will only be issued with a purchase of a game ticket. The purchase and consumption of beer will be only permitted inside of the designated fenced area. Beer will not be sold out of the concession stand because the team is currently working with a contractor to construct a new elevated press box with a ground level area that would be for beer sales and merchandise, also located inside the enclosed fence area. Beer sales will be cut during the seventh inning, as they have 9 innings, but they will cut it at the seventh inning. And under no circumstances will beer be sold to anyone not entering the designated fenced area specifically for baseball games. There will be no one walking around our general park area with a beer purchased inside of the contained designated area. So I really wanted to highlight that, because one thing that's important about them installing that elaborate fenced area is that, if you recall at our 4th of July events where we have the beer garden with dirtbag elves, that's a temporary fence we put out there. You cannot purchase, you have to purchase and consume the beer inside that area. You cannot leave that area. So now with this big fence actually creating an enclosed environment, that is the only place that you will be able to purchase and consume beer. But it's only during the baseball games and only during the season. So if it's during the baseball season, but it's a soccer game on another day, that is not a day that you'll have beer sold. It'll only be sold and consumed during the baseball games, during baseball season, and only inside that fence there. But I'd like to open the floor to the question.
Chancellor, selling the beer, that's gonna be by their personnel, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the town's not involved in purchasing, selling?
No, the only
No
thing we
liability
do,
at all.
the only thing we do is issue the permit. So it's almost like I give Dirtbag Gales as a perfect example. We issue a 1-day permit for the 4th of July to them. They are the permit holder. We're out of it. The only thing we do is police that you can only purchase the beer inside the enclosed area and you cannot step outside of it. So we will not be in the business of selling or anything tied to the alcohol. We are just giving them the authority to actually sell it.
Mr. Lay?
You say, well, would be policing that like a dirtbag field?
That is correct. And I think one thing that the baseball team offered is the wristband system, that you would only get that entering the game with a game ticket, and you would have to have that even to consume it inside the fenced area. So, and we have PD on at our sporting events anyway, so they will police that like they would police everything.
I, for one, and there's 5 commissioners up here, excuse me, I, for one, will not vote to sell beer where kids are. I've been with the Hope Hills Youth Association 40-some years, and we never sell beer for a fundraiser, not one time. I don't think it's necessary to see a bunch of people out there getting high and using words they shouldn't be using around kids, even the young kids at that age. And I don't think we have an ordinance to prevent that at the present time.
Mr. Legg, I think that contract was approved by the prior board back in October.
That's correct. And I would like to highlight that we do have an approved ordinance that's been in place for about 4 or 5 years for the sale and consumption of alcohol. That's actually the ordinance that allowed for us to do the beer garden and things of that nature. So the only thing we're talking about now is executing the concessions agreement that is outlined in the approved sale and lease agreement that was approved by the board. So to be able to do the concessions, it doesn't require board approval. We're just updating the board on what we're doing with the process.
Do we get any funds from that sale?
I don't think we get funds directly from the sale of alcohol, but the sales lease use agreement allows us to recoup 3% of all revenues once they recoup up to the $100,000 investment. So I don't want to put it out there that we're receiving money from alcohol sales. We're just receiving 3% of all the revenues that they generate once they recoup back their investment.
But that's part of the revenue that they will receive.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, it's part of the revenue.
I'm sure we're.
Okay, Commissioner Lake, Commissioner Swallow.
Just to kind of follow up with the questions about the alcohol sales. Now, we'll be policing them, so essentially our police department will be policing them, so to speak.
It would be no different than, if we had, well, I think one time we had, an event at the lake where there was an area, and our ordinance dictates that if you receive this permit, even on an event at the golf course, it has to be in an enclosed area. You can only purchase and consume it inside that closed area. So if anyone exits that area, that's the violation of the ordinance. So we will police it in that same way.
Now, I don't know if this question would be more attorney-wise kind of question, but I'm thinking, okay, perfect storm. Someone has way too many to drink and they leave and they finished all their alcohol and they leave and they get into an accident. Would it be the town's responsibility or the Paul Reds?
If that would be under dram shop law, if you overserve someone, they go get an accident, you could potentially have liability, but it would be the responsibility of the entity who served the alcohol, not the town.
Okay, so it's not the town, just wanted to repeat that, not the town's responsibility.
Well, I think it would be no different than those folks that leave Sacred Stadium.
That's correct.
You know, the liability is on them, the responsibility is on them once they leave that stadium. If they cause an accident or part of any accident, then the responsibility is on that entity and not the ball team.
That's correct.
At Sacred Stadium. Any other questions?
Yes, I do. I have right many of them, and since this board is responsible to our taxpayers and their children, I've been asked a lot of questions that I cannot answer. So if I've gone through and picked out the ones that I got the most questions from, and if I repeat a question you've already answered, excuse me, please forgive me, but I want the people watching to hear the exact answer for this question. The first one is, has the town applied for a beer permit?
The town would not be applying for the permit. The town would be signing a lease and concessions agreement to give them authorization for them to apply for the permit with ALE. The permit for the beer would never be in the town's name.
In the contract, doesn't it say that they've asked the town to get the beer permit for them?
The agreement said the town would create a reasonable effort to assist them in obtaining the actual license on there, which is what we're doing because ultimately, what they came back with us, and they would have to have a document, which is the concessions lease agreement that ALE would need it says that we're giving them authorization to apply for the permit.
And I guess the name on the permit would be what?
I would think it would be Alrec Ball League or whatever the name of the entity that they would be. We're just giving them authorization to proceed with it, but the permit will not be in our name.
How much do those permits cost?
That I would not, I don't know. That wouldn't be germane to the lease agreement, but I can find that out.
But the town would not be paying that.
The town would not be paying that.
They will not?
No.
Okay. And this is one that Joanne just asked, but could the town be held liable if someone that has been drinking runs over a person, hits a car, or goes out into the road and gets into an accident?
Again, I think the dram shop laws are clear that the liability on that would be the seller of the alcohol who, you know, if you serve someone who is intoxicated or clearly intoxicated and they get into an accident, you could potentially be held liable for that. But that liability would be on the part of the server, not on the town.
Okay, does the town have to add Ballard on our liability insurance policy, even though Ballard has insurance of $1 million listed in their contract?
I don't believe that was in the agreement, so, no, I don't think so.
Well, then is the town gonna have to spend more, spend money to get additional liability insurance?
I don't believe
No.
How much money would the town incur if there is a miscalculation in the contract? For instance, spending more than the up to $100,000. If they go over the $100,000, will the town have to pay the overage?
No. The contract clearly states that, the agreement is for their expenses to upgrade our field up to $100,000. If they want to put $200,000 into it, I mean, that's great for us. There will be no cost that we would have to incur for any aspect of this.
How much municipal land does the ball team control under the current contract?
The current contract only stipulates the use of the field number 2. I think that's the one. Is that field number 2?
Field number 1.
Field number 1, that's the only aspect of our property that this contract covers. It's just for the use of that one field.
And just to clarify, they don't have control of the use of it, they just have the right to use it.
The right to use the land.
Okay, plus the concession stand.
Yeah.
Okay, has any town employee been given the authority to discuss this contract?
Our town staff, myself and Parks and Rec staff, we pretty much talk openly with them pretty frequently. What I read into the record tonight was after the discussions that we've had with them, that would ultimately become the terms and conditions. So when we're talking through a lot of these things, even when they're giving us the update on the construction, we're in constant communication.
I understand the ball team wants to operate the concession stand or build it year-round with beer sales other than May, June, and July.
That's not correct. What they actually found out is that we recently had to sever the contract for concessions outside of the baseball games, because if you notice, it's been a struggle for us to get someone to consistently operate like during a soccer game or a Little League baseball game at this location. Dixie Youth operates the concessions at Broward Park across the street. And so ultimately, to keep everything consistent, DeMarco and I talked about we're going to do an RFP for the concessions outside of the game. But when the baseball team heard about that, they said they were interested in actually running the concessions all year. But that does not change what we said in the terms. They would have the right to reply to the RFP. If they were awarded the RFP, that would not give them the ability to sell alcohol outside of the baseball game. That just means that for a soccer game, they're selling hot dogs and hamburgers and things of that nature. But we haven't done the RFP yet, but they were aware that we were having problems. We even talked about maybe putting food trucks out there. The parents and the kids just want something consistent, that if I'm at a soccer game, because my daughter plays soccer here, and so most people are having to come in this building to use the vending machine. And if you got 200 parents out there, a lot of times we're not talking about steak. They just want some hamburgers, hot dogs, and some chips. And so we've struggled for quite about a decade to get some entity in there consistent to just serve general food. So the RFP is what route we're going to take, but the baseball team has shown an interest in that. But I want to make sure I'm clear. If anybody's awarded that, the alcohol with beer will only be sold during the baseball season and only during the baseball games. That's it.
So that means that if you lease it to someone else, they'll be in there serving the hot dogs and hamburgers, and then Ballard will be at the other end of the building selling beer?
No. Ball Red would be over the concessions during their baseball games, and then outside of those games, the other entity would operate our building because it's our building. So if there's a soccer game on a Tuesday and a baseball game on a Wednesday, then the entity that controls the concession will operate on that time, and then the baseball team will operate the concessions during that baseball game.
Well, who's going to feed the people that come to the baseball games?
Ball Red operates the concessions during the entire time of the baseball game. And so if there's someone wanting a hot dog, they're selling hot dogs, hamburgers, and beer. And so they operate the concessions during the time that they're playing baseball. But if there's another entity, they would operate the concessions when the baseball game is over. Yeah. So,
If you would recall, just clarity on the concessions and the alcohol. If you recall in his report, he did mention that there's going to actually be a separate building where the alcohol is going to be served. So, in no case will there be concessions, hot dogs, chips, and hamburgers sold in the same location where there's going to be alcohol. Alcohol is going to be sold in a separate building, which will be the lower level of the press box.
that's correct.
One building. The other building is a concession stand that will serve the sodas, the chips, hamburgers, hot dogs, what have you. So you're looking at two separate buildings. So in other words, if there's not a baseball game going on, there will not be any alcohol sold, period. There'll just be concessions at that building. No way to serve alcohol because you're in two separate locations, and if there's not a ball game going on during the ball season, there's no alcohol being sold, period. So
And that's written into the contract.
two different buildings totally, so there's no way you can sell alcohol to soccer players, soccer moms, baseball teams, etc., because they're in two separate locations. Hopefully that clears up everything.
Well, what is the building that's they painted blue?
That's the building they're gonna be serving so you got concessions. So look at it this way. Concessions are being sold out of the building that's in the blue. The other building, the press box where the alcohol's gonna be sold. I don't know what color that's gonna be because it ain't been built yet. But two separate locations.
So why would they be wanting to cut another window serving?
That has been updated. They're not cutting another window. What they talked about today, and I think it was to clear all of this confusion, there was an original proposal to cut a second window to serve alcohol out of that window and then serve concessions out of the other window. They scrapped that idea to go with this two-level press box that would have alcohol on the first floor.
Okay, is the contract going to be modified at all for any reason?
No, ma'am. There will be no need to modify it.
Okay, and the contract does say binding, and that's the way it will stay.
That's correct.
Unless it is amended. There's no
Yeah.
reason to believe it will be amended, but it would take a vote of the board.
That I want to make sure that I highlight too. If there is an amendment to that contract has to come back to this board. That's language that's allowable in there, but that would have to come back to the board if there's an amendment. But we do not anticipate there being an amendment. At least that's not the conversation we had.
Okay, I think the answers have been given out. People.
Got 'em all?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chancellor, just to be clear, the ball team receives revenue only during the game of beer sales or alcohol sales and the concession, only during the game.
That is correct. The only revenue they get is when they're operating the concessions and playing baseball, and that's it. Everything else comes to the town.
Okay, everything outside those games come to the town.
That is correct.
All right, anything else?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Okay, Commissioner Lake?
How are we gonna work the situation where other games may be played on that field, during the same week?
That's actually written into the contract as well. They would coordinate with Parks and Rec for the scheduling of those games.
And there's no conflict on games?
No.
Mr. Mayor, can I give the example? So, on the Arts Council, we have this big international folk festival every year. It's a family event. They come to the beer garden, the window, it's a tent. They show us our ID, and that's the only place that they can purchase the alcohol. And they're out there with everybody in the community. We're not held liable, and it works just fine.
That's correct.
I would think this baseball event would be the same
That's
thing.
correct. Exactly correct. This is a pretty standard law. I've actually worked with beer garden for Arts Council, but they have it very clearly designated. There's police out there just very quietly just policing the area. And it's to be, like the mayor said, this would be no different if I went to a Woodpeckers game. I cannot take a beer and walk out of Secret State and walk down the street, down 8th Street in Fayetteville. So these are pretty standard laws. And we ran beer gardens here at Old Mill Days, 4th of July, several times, and we hadn't had any very successful. I think, and I don't know if I want to let the cat out the bag, but Dirtbag L's has expressed an interest in creating a beer for the baseball team. And so it's a lot of cross branding and things of that nature that we're trying to see.
Anything else? Anybody else before we move on to Beth? She's coming up next. All right. Item B, approval of household hazardous waste and shred event for April 27th,
2024.
Okay.
April 20th, 2024.
There's a typo here.
There's a correction.
Okay. And to authorize the town manager to execute corresponding contracts under tab 8.
420 is when we are doing cleanup, the townwide cleanup, household hazardous waste and shred event. On the 27th, Parks and Rec will be doing the townwide yard sale. So the flyers have not gone out yet. They are in processing right now. All the dates are updated. We had an issue with the household hazardous waste contract that we had initially thought we would do it on the 27th, but they did not have availability for that day. And as far as I know, they're the only game around town because they're not in town. So before I go into a big long spiel, we've been doing this for a really long time. Does anybody have any questions about what it is?
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? None opposed?
So the one thing I would ask is that you all spread the word. We'll be spreading the word through means of social media. We're doing an every door direct mail like we always do. We will also be using the billboard on Pope Mills Road to advertise.
Yes, the billboard.
And there will be no beer at our event.
Oh, good. No gardens, no cups, no armbands, no tickets.
Mr. Mayor, so you're saying there's no beer on 420 day? No beer on 420?
What about 427?
Yeah.
At your own yard sale.
There will be beer if whomever's yard sale chooses to do that, but that is not a liability to the town. So no, there will be no beer.
Thank you, Beth. The motion passes. We move on to item number C, approval of budget amendment number 18, and to accept the bid from Diamond Contractors Incorporated and authorize town manager to enter into a construction contract for the amount not to exceed $128,000. It's under tab 9, and Chancellor, this one's yours.
This is for the construction of the Veterans Memorial Park. Lamarco can attest to the fact that the bids came in really, really high. So we recalibrated with Diamond. Lamarco went to Beth. Beth threw a couple dollars in. We got the cost down, and so I think they're ready to proceed forward. But we do have to actually get this approval from the board to proceed.
Mayor, motion to approve the amendment, budget amendment number 18, and set the bid for Diamond Construction Incorporated and authorize the town manager to enter into a construction contract for the amount not to exceed 128.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Item D, acceptance of the report of unpaid taxes as furnished by the Cumberland County Office of the Tax Administrator for the current fiscal year that are liens on real property, and charge the tax administrator to advertise the tax liens that's under tab 10, and that one's yours too, Jim.
I think Drew can, I guess, confirm this is just a standard thing that happens every year that they ask us to actually put on our agenda and advertise for approval. But it's something that they're doing on their end.
Any discussion? There's no motion required, just any discussion, we'll move on. Item E, Approval of resolution R 2024-04 declaring certain property of the town to be surplus and authorizing the disposition of said property under tab 11. The answer up from yours.
Yeah, just typical surplus property. Nothing too crazy about it.
Mayor, motion to approve resolution R 2024-04. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
Go ahead. That was a motion made, but not a second.
Second.
Okay, we got a second discussion.
What, I guess Emily has this answer. What about the house on Brentwood Drive in Oak Haven? It's been empty for 3 years, and people have been living in and out of it.
I can probably answer that. That would be tied to probably code enforcement and minimum housing. That wouldn't be something that would be tied to surplus property for the town.
Okay, who can answer that question?
I can follow up with code enforcement first thing in the morning to see what the status of it is. But if it's a vacant building, that's probably minimum housing. I do know we had a demolition program at one point that we were talking about at the town, but I can pursue that in the morning.
The guy that lives across the street from it, he's a retired inspector from the county, and he's on my case about once a month over that house. He don't want it tore down or anything, but he'd like to see it cleaned up, fixed up. Some of the windows have boards on them, some don't.
There's a statutory process we can follow. We'll have to look into that.
I
Just so
hope
we
he
can
can, so I mentioned it to their staff here last meeting, I believe it was. And, they put a roof on it with a tarp and threw the floors over it and it blew off. When you drive down the street, it's terrible. It's right on the corner. If you guys wanna see it, go to Brentwood and Oak Haven.
I'll definitely follow up that with code enforcement first thing in the morning.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Lay. Okay, back to the motion. We have a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion carries. We move on to item F. Approval of resolution R 2024-5, accepting the following streets or portions of streets in the Sheffield Farm subdivision into the Hope Mills street system. That would be Scenic Pines Drive, Mayfern Drive, and Legion Creek Drive, and that's under tab 12. That one's yours, Chancellor.
I think this is phase 4 of Sheffield Farms. We actually annexed in phase 5, which is under construction now. But when you get to these resolutions, this means that the phase 4 construction is complete. Don, Bruce, and Beth have gone out and inspected those streets, and now they are asking you to approve the resolution for us to take over the maintenance of those streets, for those streets to be included on the power bill.
Okay, motion to approve resolution R 2024-05.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We go to added item number G, and that's the committee applications. And I believe Commissioner Fravor has that.
I actually have 9 new volunteers, which is absolutely wonderful. We have 3 to add on to the Veterans Affairs Committee. One of them is Ronnie McCormick. Ronnie is a retired soldier and currently employed with the 4th BDE Army ROTC at Campbell University. The second one is Lindsay Scott, and Lindsay is a social worker. The third one is Vivian Burnett Scott. She is the manager of the Navy Federal Credit Union. You want me to go ahead and do all of it?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is for the Cultural Arts Committee, Kimberly Fox. Kimberly is a child care administrator. And of course, Vivian Burnett Scott is also, coming on this committee. And of course, you know, she's the manager of the Navy Federal Credit Union. We also have Leon Scott, which is Vivian's husband, and Leon is a retired sales manager. Then we have is it Jeannie Coombs? Is that how you pronounce her name, or Jean? Sharon?
Jean.
Jean?
I think it's Jean.
Okay, Jean. And she owns her own business, and I think she's a music teacher, not correct. And the Historic Preservation Committee. Roy Young. Roy is a business owner of Complete Lock and Key and SAR Investments. Roy actually owns the funeral home over on Trade Street. Then the other one is Lindsay Scott. And of course, Lindsay is a social worker. And that's all I have.
Okay,
I make a motion to approve the nominating committee's recommendation.
second,
Second.
any discussion? None? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have additional volunteers, and I thank each one of them for stepping forward to volunteer on our various committees. Last item that's added is item H, discussion of the Deaver Circle, and I probably will say it's that large hole that's in the middle of the road. Yes. For the past week, at least I've heard comments, you probably have too. I don't know if the board has collectively, but it's a large hole that's out there, so you can start it off, Jennifer, and then kind of get into it.
So ultimately, Deaver Circle has been a conundrum or a thorn or issue for years. It's a very delicate issue, similar to Applegate, where it's actually worse than Applegate. It's actually an orphaned road. Public Works Director Don Cisco and I researched this about 3 or 4 years ago, and before that time, I had no idea. I had never heard the term orphan road. And so it's not a DOT road, it's not a town road, it's not a county road, it's an orphaned road that there's legislation that you can go to take ownership of it. The issue is, if you were to upgrade Deaver Circle and bring it up to town standards, or DOT standards, it requires curb and gutter, whole storm system, and the whole nine. Well, the area drains towards Rockfish Road. So everyone's aware that every time it rains, it floods in front of Seaway and Collier. Well, DOT has a long-term project to widen Rockfish Road in that area. So the widening of Rockfish in this area, phase 2, DOT will pick up where this left leaves off, and it will go towards Camden. And that widening of Camden and Rockfish at what we call the bow tie would be the installation of a major storm system that would capture all that water. It is our research that we've conducted that after that system is put in by DOT, it would then be cost effective for the town to explore taking Deaver Circle, upgrading it, putting curb and gutter, because the water from Deaver Circle would run to that system. If we take it on now, you're probably quadrupling the cost, because we would have to put that system in place. I don't think it'd be prudent for us to put a system in place the DOT is going to put in at a later date. I understand that to a citizen, they don't want to hear a 1.5 year project. Many of us are fully aware of Applegate and how long we've been talking about that. We just annexed in the long-term solution to Applegate this evening. So there are solutions to these issues. They are not quick solutions. And ultimately, Mayor, you and I talked about it today. The $1 million question is not, can Deaver Circle be passed? The $1 million question is, are we about to take taxpayers' dollars and put it on maintaining a road that we do not own and maintain? That is the difficult conversation we're having. And so I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm simply saying that for about the last 5 to 6 years, every time Deaver Circle comes up, this position that we've had has never changed. We've known and before 5 years ago, we just knew DOT were talking about it. Now we know they're doing a project, but in my opinion, I think it would be more cost effective if we were to wait until DOT put that system in, and then I think our public works department would be perfectly fine coming to you asking for the funding to bring it up to town standards, because we have a system for that water to go to. Is that a solution that the residents want to hear now? Probably not, but that's the delicate nature of what's complicated this entire issue.
Commissioner Sorrell?
Now, because I've gotten some complaints for Beaver Circle as well. And I did some research, and I even tried to explain to people, I did orphan roads there, it doesn't, they're in the middle of nowhere, we can't, there's nothing we can do for it. However, I've seen that there's grants available for that. Is there a way we can have our grant person look into grants for orphan roads?
I will say that when we presented to the delegates, we presented to them a cost of $11 million to bring our town roads up to standards. We did go directly to our grants administrator to help with those funds. But again, we would be telling her to get us grant money to fix a road that is not in our town limits.
Well,
that's the conundrum.
Okay, well, the grant, because it's specific for orphan roads, it's short title, Orphan Roads DOT Maintenance Program. So this is from the North Carolina legislature. It's on ncleg.gov. So,
Mr. Mayor, well, can NCDOT go find that grant and fix that road?
NCDOT's answer.
We started, that's our road.
Thank you.
And when we touch that road, that is our
And
road.
DOT's response has always been, it's not ours.
well, see, and that's what kills me about this is it's through North Carolina legislature. Obviously, it's an orphan road program, so that's for the understanding that no one owns the road. So, I mean, so I guess someone's got to start the process. It's a matter of at what point does it get processed. I have the House bill where it was on the House bill right here. It became effective July 1st, 2023. So it's maybe because it's a new bill
and I will point out, and our town clerk just pointed this out too, we have 30,000 billable hours that is ticking. And so are we gonna ask Ingrid to reduce or dedicate our 30,000 billable hours to dedicate to this initiative while we're telling her that we want her to pursue? We had a grant meeting with her today for the SAFER grant for grants for fire department. She's pulling grants for police department. She's looking at the RAISE grant and the BRIC grant for infrastructure for Don's program. And so every time we engage her, it's chipping away at this 30,000. And so, like I said, it's not a I was telling the mayor today, it's no answer we're gonna give. It's gonna be an answer that is somewhat positive, simply that it's a road that we don't own. It was the same position we took with Applegate. We've actually contacted the county. I've talked to Richie Hines and let him know because residents from Valley Inn called upset about Applegate. I reached out to the county. They put the county in contact with Richie Hines. They're looking into it. But if a road is not inside the town limits, that defaults to a county road, which defaults to the maintenance of DOT. But DOT has always said it's not ours. So it's really more of a situation of, like I said, the difficult conversation is, are we ready to actually put maintenance and work on a road that doesn't belong to us when our roads have a 68.3 average in terms of the current standard?
Well, didn't, when Melissa was the town manager, didn't she apply for a grant?
I think when Melissa was the town manager, this position did not change. This was the exact same conversation we had. I think this is going back through managers. So we've had this conversation with Beaver Circle for at least about the last 6 years. And it's been the same situation. I think we're at a little bit closer to seeing a light in the tunnel now because DOT is actually, I've seen the design. They're doing a major realignment of the bow tie which is where Camden and Rockbridge Road intersect. 5 years ago, it was just a conversation. So we see a project coming. But like I told the mayor today, I mean, if I'm living in that area, telling me to wait a year and a half, I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's not a good way to look at this outside of just us putting our staff on something that doesn't belong to us.
When is that project supposed to start?
I can reach out to, you talking about the widening? I can look at DOT to find out. I think they're going through funding right now. I don't think they even have the let date, but right now, this project they're doing for us, which is Gospel and Rockbridge, is the project that's on their horizon today.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Swirl?
Because one of the complaints I had now, just for clarification purposes, if a property gets annexed into the town of Hope Mills, that does not include the road.
That is correct. Sheffield Farms that we just approved is a perfect example. The developer annexed in about 20 acres of vacant land and built roads inside that boundary. Those roads will be turned over to the town. But if you were to take a vacant piece of property on Depot Circle and you were to purchase a lot and build a house, you will get a driveway permit, but that does not make that roadway yours to actually maintain. So what happens is the condos along Beaver Circle and Summer Drive, a developer purchased the land and developed townhouses, but a lot of people thought that when we annexed the land, that made those roadways his to maintain, and that's not correct.
And when I try to explain it to citizens, I mean, it's essentially like any other, like an HOA. If the HOA goes defunct or the gated community goes defunct, and then there's, no one to repair their roads, it doesn't become a town road automatically.
That is correct.
So that's how they get orphan roads, so.
That's correct.
It looks like the legislation that was, at least under discussion, I can't tell if it's been adopted or not, but, was to give DOT funding to deal with the orphan roads. So we wouldn't, conceivably, we would not be able to get that funding with the DOT.
So we would essentially have to contact someone from DOT for us to, like, fire on their.
Yeah,
that.
and say, hey, if you've got funding, this is a good place to spend it.
Ah, there it is.
And Mr. Mayor, I think Representative Jackson, Francis Jackson, was working on that. I believe she mentioned that, so she may be someone that we want to follow up with and ask about that.
Go ahead.
The tax money comes back to the town. If we end up having to, I'm gonna say adopt that street, the Deaver Street, or Deaver Circle, will the Powell bill money pay to fix that road?
Not until it's under our ownership.
Sir?
I said, I think ultimately, Power Bill is for the maintaining of roads that are in town limits that are owned by the town. So I don't think that could come out of Power Bill money.
Is that correct, Don?
Most probably, yes, sir.
How much will it cost if, Don, if you just go out there and patch it for those people? I mean, I hate to see
The problem, this is the same problem we have with Applegate Road, which is once you start going to patch it and start making repairs, then you're taking responsibility for the condition of the road.
Well, is there any way you could put some orange cones or something out there so people won't go into, run into the house? I mean,
does that.
well,
But even then, the second we start trying to control that road or start trying to put up warning signs, then there might be allegations that those are inadequate. And, I think we're better off if it's not our road, especially if there is funding coming to the DOT. It's a problem across the state, these orphan roads, that looks like the legislation is proposed to give DOT $75 million to fix these orphan roads and adopt them and bring them into the DOT system. That's probably the best approach, is for that to happen.
well, I agree with that, but the only thing about that is they're taxpayers that are out there paying, and they have to use that road. And here we're just sitting here taking the tax money on a big old roll and that deep, and if they run their cars into it, it's gonna damage their cars. I just don't, I think that's just sad that we can't do something else.
Commissioner Swallow.
When I was actually doing some research on this, and this is the crazy thing, I don't know if we got realtors in the office, but the realtors don't even have to disclose that either, that road is orphaned. So they can basically sell a person a house and not tell them that that road won't get repaired. So it's essentially the due diligence of the house buyer, the property buyer, whatever. So.
You know, the bad part, Commissioner, is they're selling them faster than they can build them, so it's not hurting them any. It's hurting us because they beat the road more.
Okay, Commissioners, I think the road forward is to work with Representative Francis Jackson and DOT to get some repair done to Beaver Circle. I think that's the road forward, since that's been discussed again. I think that's the way to go.
Applegate's bad too.
Okay, next up, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to call a closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A3, attorney-client privilege, and NCGS 143-318-11A6 personnel.
Second.
All in favor? We'll be right back.
All right. Hour and a half late.
Chancellor Manager's report, and it's a wrap.
All right.
Okay, we're in session.
I move to seal the minutes of the closed session until such time as the release of the information will no longer frustrate the purpose of the closed session and further no action is taken.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, seeing none opposed, approved. And the last item on the agenda before we adjourn is the manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. As we talked about earlier, you have March 9th, well, I started March 8th. We have the Senior Expo on March 8th. This is a partnership with the Mid-Carolina Council on Aging. It's a great event. I think we are at 38 vendors. Senator Applewhite would be the keynote speaker. You have breakout sessions. They're gonna, Casey with Parks and Rec will have exercise and demonstration for senior citizens. There'll be breakout sessions talking about everything from navigating through Medicaid and things of that nature. It's a very powerful event. March 8th at our Parks and Rec Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. March 9th, we have the Hope Mills Charter Day at the Thomas Campbell Open Memorial Chapel at 1 p.m., 3711 North South Main Street. And as we talk about Women's History Month, this is something I'll give kudos to my town clerk, Ashley, and Amy, and Jamie Gilson, the victims advocate from the police department. They came up with a pretty powerful endeavor called the Dignity Closet. And we're gonna have a problem because we got a lot of donations coming in from a lot of different organizations. We heard from Jack and Jill today, a lot of different organizations, and we're accepting gently worn clothes and toiletries for women in need. And so what's gonna be powerful about this is we're actually reaching out to thrift stores to get racks and hangers. So on the 28th of March, from 3 to 7, you can come to the Parks and Rec Center to shop free of charge, and every woman will receive a nice bag to shop in, and there will be clothes on racks for them to look through, and it's all free of charge, but it's called the Dignity Closet. And so I think Ashley and I were talking about hopefully this becomes something where we take in so much, it can be something where we can actually keep this going.
Really good.
But it's a really, really powerful program that they came up with. And that, like I said, again, March 28th from 3 to 7. The Cottontail Trail is on March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. with the Easter Bunny. I do have the Heritage Park update in our manager's report, and I'm gonna keep the NCDOT updates running for a little while, just so people kind of keep those, because these are long-term projects that I think people will ask about, and it kind of has reduced some of the phone calls coming in. And then we have the Hope Mills Lake multi-use path, which is moving forward with our Public Works Department. That's a FAMPRO grant that we had. It's still an 80-20 match. And finally, I just need to, and I don't know if Ingrid's listening, but the grants administrator, I mean, she is nothing short of amazing. We talk to her about every day. And I mean, she's hitting everything. She's hitting FEMA. She's talking DLT, FAMPO, infrastructure grants. I mean, every day she's contacting somebody on our staff for another Zoom meeting. I think I'm talking about 3 days a week now, with different deadlines and information. And I do not think this would be possible for us to do as staff with this level of involvement and deadlines and reporting information. She contacted Rouser and Senator Budd's office. They're getting letters of support from them. There's no way we could have done all this stuff in-house. And so it's a great program, and we keep hearing that we're one of the only municipalities in this area that's taking advantage of it. So that's something that I want to keep highlighting, the efforts that they have to help the town.
It's the best investment
Yeah.
that we're doing right now for the citizens and for the staff of town.
Yeah, I can't put
It
it
truly is. The time that's invested. Thank you, Chancellor. Okay.
I spoke with the Mayor Pro Tem at Spring Lake earlier in this week, and she's wanting to see about getting with us to try to either develop like some of these grants, like for transportation and stuff like that, and just try, because we I don't want to say like Hope Mills is like the redhead stepchild of Cumberland County, but Spring Lake's the same way, where we seem to come behind Fayetteville for a lot of stuff, and so to try to work together with Spring Lake and try to get a lot of these things. So it's something I'm gonna try to see if we can maybe set up something with the Spring Lake people.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Scarola. Chancellor and Ashley, could we reach out to Representative Frances Jackson and invite her for Friday, the Senior Expo, the event that we're having?
I'll do that.
Please reach out, and she's available. We'd love to have her, since Senator Val Applewhite will be here. It'd be a good opportunity for Representative Jackson to come back and spend some time with us.
So I have to show the Senior Expo is what you're saying, even though I'm not a senior.
And before we go, I know nobody's here now, but I wanted to say this for the record. We did receive his retirement notification of our fire chief, Charles Lopez. We are having him a celebration on the 19th of March. I think you guys got the invitation. We're asking everybody to come out. It'll be in the bays at the Public Safety Center. Mission Barbecue is his favorite place, a destination to eat, and so we'll be there. I'm pretty sure he'll have family and friends as well, so we're inviting everybody out, staff and public, to come celebrate. Now, speak more about that and the 18th manager's report as well, but that's something I wanted to at least speak into the record.
What did you say that was?
Chief Lopez.
Where's the celebration?
Oh, it's next door in the bays at the Public Safety Center.
Chief Lopez, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to know what time was Senator Applewhite speaking Friday.
She did confirm 1 p.m. Yeah, and also Ashley's gonna kick me if I forget. The joint chairs meeting is tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. at the Parks and Rec.
No, it's in here because the primary voting.
Oh, wait, I'll update. It's in this room because the primary is next door. 6 p.m. in this room in Town Hall. but the primary is next door, but the joint, committee's meeting is tomorrow.
I know one task they're looking at the, amount for decorations. And the three chairs were talking about that before we went out. I would like to say that, Chief Lopez has been with the town since 1994. And it's been an honor to watch him be a part of this town, and also an honor to be, to see him go into retirement. He's earned it quite well. Before we adjourn, the next time we'll come together will be Thursday morning. We'll be in the Public Safety Building in the EOC. We're gonna kick it off at 8 o'clock, which will be our budget, workshop retreat. And the public is more than welcome to come and sit in and join the whole day with us. It may not take all day, but, we'll be there, to work the process and see what we're looking at for the, operating budget for next year. One of the highlights will be the presentation of the pay study. For the first time, it will be presented to the entire full board, and the staff, and the public as well. So, anything else before we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? None opposed. We are adjourned.
All right. I'm gonna just have to get back to that.